Let go of me right now. Matilda screamed at the top of her lungs. The fabric of her custom blazer ripped violently as the billionaire shoved her hard against the freezing ice sculpture. The majestic, $250,000 gala was literally crumbling around her in seconds. 400 elite guests watched the horror unfold, and instead of rushing to help, they enthusiastically pulled out their glowing smartphones. "Smile for the camera, sweetheart." Cameron Vance sneered, his alcohol-laced breath hot and disgusting against her face. Matilda sobbed, "I can't breathe. Someone please help me." Not a single person moved. They just recorded her humiliation. Then, an absolute miracle happened. A hand clamped onto Vance's thick wrist, snapping it backward with a sickening, audible crunch. It wasn't the hired security team. It was the suspiciously quiet man from Table 12, Min-jun Choi. Vance whimpered in sudden, agonizing pain. "Do you know who I am?" Vance howled, struggling frantically. But Min-jun just stared at him with ice in his veins and whispered a secret that changed everything. "I know exactly who you are, Cameron. And you are trespassing on my property. I secretly bought the Glassmont Summit Hotel exactly 20 minutes ago." What a massive twist. The man everyone thought was just a quiet guest was actually the brand new owner of the entire establishment. If you are already shocked by these cowardly bystanders, smash that like button right now and wait until you hear what the hotel's corrupt HR department tried to do next. Just hours before this absolute nightmare, Matilda Yaboa had been the ghost of the Grand Ballroom. For 9 grueling years, she practically ran the entire hotel's event department. "I make the impossible look completely effortless," she always told her exhausted team. Tonight was supposed to be her crowning achievement. She had meticulously planned every single detail of the Vance-Sterling Benefactor Ball. But the illusion of perfection completely shattered when Vance cornered her in the dark. Min-jun effortlessly shoved the belligerent billionaire out the side exit. "You are leaving, and you will never return," Min-jun commanded fiercely. The entire ballroom fell dead silent. Matilda collapsed against the cold wall, her entire body shaking uncontrollably. "I thought I was going to die," she cried out, clutching her torn clothes. Min-jun gently handed her his expensive coat. "I am so sorry you had to endure this. I will make sure he pays," he promised her. She stared out at the sea of cruel faces still holding their phones. "How could you just stand there?" she screamed at the wealthy crowd. Her heart shattered into a million pieces. She had given her soul to these people. "I will never forgive any of you," she sobbed, rushing out of the ballroom. The physical bruises on her arms faded quickly, but the systemic betrayal tore her soul apart. Matilda locked herself in the staff locker room, wiping furious tears of sheer humiliation from her face. "I gave you 9 years of my absolute best work," she cried hysterically into the phone while speaking to the HR director. "I am the victim here. He attacked me in front of everyone." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. At exactly 8:47 the next morning, she hit send on a meticulously documented formal complaint. For 15 agonizing days, she existed in a total nightmare of suspense. The hotel's deputy HR director kept feeding her lies. "We are taking this very seriously, Matilda. I promise we are looking out for you," they claimed. But they were actually calculating the massive financial liability of losing the Vance family's endless wealth. When the final verdict came down, it felt like a knife to the chest. The general manager looked her dead in the eye across his polished desk. "We value you so much, Matilda. Cameron Vance is banned from the property. However, we think it is best you transition to our low-visibility corporate retreats. You need to take a massive step back from the spotlight." "You are demoting me?" Matilda screamed, leaping out of her chair in sheer disbelief. "I did absolutely nothing wrong. I was assaulted." The general manager sighed coldly. "You must understand our difficult position. We have a reputation to protect, and you are a liability right now. I will not let you hide me in the basement like a dirty secret," she roared, tears streaming down her furious face. But the hotel had already made its incredibly cruel decision. They stripped her of her magnificent, high-profile events. They treated her very existence as a toxic scandal. The institution completely insulated itself, ruthlessly burying the traumatized survivor just to protect their bottom line. Have you ever been completely betrayed by your toxic workplace? Drop a comment below with your story, because Matilda's epic revenge is going to be so unbelievably sweet. Keep watching to see how she destroys them. For 6 agonizing months, Matilda moved through her dark days like a broken zombie. "I feel so incredibly invisible," she wept to her young daughter, Maya, every single night. "I just want my life back. I want my dignity back." But the massive hotel ignored her pain. They threw her into sterile, boring boardroom meetings while grieving the spectacular career she had passionately loved. She felt suffocated. She felt discarded. "I cannot survive like this," she cried out to the empty room. Little did she know, the man who owned the hotel was quietly building an absolute war chest behind the scenes to save her. On a crisp, windy Tuesday afternoon, Matilda walked out of the bleak employee entrance and completely froze. Min-jun Choi was casually leaning against the stone wall. "Matilda," he called out passionately. "Mr. Choi? What are you doing here?" she gasped, her heart pounding frantically. "Min-jun, please. I am so sorry for the delay." He dramatically pulled a thick manila envelope from his coat and thrust it into her trembling hands. "I took over the board, but I had to investigate this rot quietly. I didn't just buy the hotel to make money. I bought it to tear out the corporate poison," he declared fiercely. Matilda ripped open the heavy envelope. Inside were incredibly damning HR logs and a sworn statement from a woman named Elena. Elena reported Cameron Vance for the exact same violent behavior 2 years ago. Min-jun explained, his voice shaking with absolute rage. "They buried her complaint to protect his filthy money. They forced her out into the cold. Your assault was not an isolated mistake. It was a fully protected pattern of abuse. I thought I was completely alone." Matilda cried uncontrollably, her hot tears splashing violently onto the documented evidence. "I thought no one cared about me." "You were never alone," Min-jun promised fiercely, grabbing her shoulders. "I saw what they did to Elena before I had the power to stop them, and I swore on my life I would never let an institution bury a survivor ever again. I am giving you the ammunition. We are going to burn their corrupt system to the ground." The fire finally returned to Matilda's eyes. "I will destroy them for what they did to us. I am taking back every single thing they stole from me," she screamed in righteous fury. "They thought they could break me, but they only made me so much stronger. Min-jun didn't just offer empty pity. He handed her true power. He aggressively connected her with the most ferocious labor attorney in the entire city. When the hotel's terrified legal team begged for a meeting and tried to slide a pathetic hush money check across the table, Matilda exploded. She stood up, slamming her fists onto the wood. "I will not be silenced for a pitiful check," she screamed at the top of her lungs. She violently threw the settlement papers right into the general manager's horrified face. "I am filing a massive public lawsuit. I have Elena's files. I am exposing every single one of you monsters." The corporate executives turned pale as ghosts. They knew their entire empire was about to collapse. If you love seeing justice served hot, share this video right now. The massive corporate facade completely shattered into dust. "You cannot do this to us. We are a legendary institution," the general manager panicked, sweating profusely. "I am dismantling your corrupt institution piece by piece." Matilda fired back with ultimate confidence. Over the next incredibly chaotic months, the immense pressure destroyed the executive board. Faced with a totally devastating lawsuit that proved they knowingly harbored a dangerous predator, they absolutely caved. The toxic HR director was brutally fired and publicly disgraced. By January, Matilda achieved the most epic comeback in history. She didn't just reclaim her old job. "I demand the senior event director position, a massive pay increase, and total control over safety protocols," she ordered them. They had absolutely no choice but to agree. She dragged herself out of the terrifying shadows and completely forced the massive institution to bow down to her. "This is the greatest day of my entire life," she screamed, holding the signed contract in the air. "I am taking my life back. I am in charge now," she cheered triumphantly. The massive victory at work was undeniably glorious, but her real triumph happened at home. On a beautiful, rainy Sunday, Matilda sat happily in her warm kitchen. Min-jun had become a permanent, incredibly safe presence in her life. He sat at the table, enthusiastically tutoring her sweet daughter, Maya, in Korean. "You are so brilliant, Maya. Cham jal heseo." Min-jun cheered loudly, clapping his hands as the little girl drew a complex character. "I did it. I did it." Maya squealed with absolute joy. Matilda smiled, tears of pure happiness streaming down her radiant face. "I am so incredibly lucky to have you both," she whispered. She looked down at her wrist. Resting elegantly against her skin was a gorgeous silver bracelet Min-jun had surprised her with. Engraved deeply on the shiny metal was a single, powerful Korean word, bulpi. Unconquered. "I survived the absolute worst of humanity. I survived a crowd of cowards and a company of snakes," she declared passionately to herself. "But I am no longer invisible. I am entirely, unapologetically visible. And I am completely unconquered." What an absolutely mind-blowing journey. From being violently attacked and completely betrayed, to ruling the entire company and finding a beautiful, fiercely protective family. If Matilda's incredible comeback inspired you today, you absolutely must share this story with someone who desperately needs to hear it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more epic, jaw-dropping stories of ultimate survival and glorious victory. Leave a comment below with the word "Unconquered" if you watched until the very end.